is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. Yeah. Life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. Yes. Life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. I'm trying, I'm crying, I feel like I'm dying. I'm doing my best.
All right. Welcome back to Being Human and Other Shit. Today we are on the ancestral homeland of the Nisenan people. We acknowledge them as the past, present, and future caretakers of this land. Today we're super excited. I know we say this every episode, but we have Stacy's long-term life partner on today.
Non-sexual life partner.
Non-sexual life partner. I was like, how do you usually introduce her? So I'll let you introduce Kate.
She's my non-sexual wife is what we actually say. Everybody knows.
Wifey.
This is Kate. I'm super excited.
Hi, everybody.
We met in a restaurant, so it was only appropriate. Should I tell a story about like how you got to Sac?
I mean, we really did find love in a hopeless place.
But if that song was Rihanna didn't write that for us, I don't know. Like that's really how it happened. We met in a restaurant, like literal. I think I don't even know what I was doing. Oh, I worked at another restaurant that was a shit show and left.
I had just graduated culinary school and moved back to Lodi and was like really bummed.
Yeah. And you were young. Weren't you like 22?
Yeah, 22.
I was like 20. I think I was like 27 or 8.
Yeah.
And literally just hit it off of me. She makes the best popcorn. So it was like, you already know how I felt.
Dude, and Stacy, don't get in between Stacy and her popcorn.
No,
you'll lose a limb. You'll lose a limb. Like, legit.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I literally just like, that's how we met. And then she, basically like talked her into coming when my old roommate moved out. I was like, Kate, there's nothing there for you. Like come to Sacramento and be a chef in Sacramento. Yeah, literally, selfishly.
Which is weird because like when I met you was like a rock bottom time for me. And then when I moved here was a rock bottom time for me.
Well, and funny enough, the time that you saw me at a horrible place because it was when I was going through breaking up with my ex-fiance and I was a shell of a human.
That was a tough time.
She saw me at my probably worse.
That was a tough time.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Yeah. So that's how we met and that's how we've lived in this glorious place forever. So tell us about your upbringing.
So my upbringing, I come from an entire family of cooks, just not professional ones. And so I grew up cooking with my mom and my aunts and uncles, and then my great grandma a ton. We are very much what is called, we now know as an ingredient household.
100%.
So we didn't have like ready-made things on hand. If you wanted, you had to make something, which is so odd to me that people don't know how to cook. That is just so weird to me because I just grew up like immersed in it and now I do it professionally. But even people that can't do just basic things.
Yeah.
Like fried egg.
Cook.
To me, it's like a skill that everybody should have. You should be able to feed yourself, 100%. I just don't understand that. So, I got my first restaurant job when I was 18 as a busser because it was quick tips at the end of the night. And if I could fill my gas tank and buy a bag of weed, that was
like the industry quote right there.
That's what got it. Yeah, that's what got me.
I need to be able to go places and get high
and smoke weed. And if I had like some money left over for like Taco Bell afterwards, it was like a dream.
Dude, I feel like that's 18-year-old everybody's dream.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what you want to do. Well, the funny part too is like she does come from such a cooking family. Her mom did catering forever, right? Mm-hmm. But like her parents, like a Sunday or Monday night meal, she'll come home and I'm like, what'd you guys eat? She's like, mashed potatoes, salad with blah blah blah, rack of lamb, and I'm like, what the fuck? That's Christmas, dude.
We had SpaghettiOs.
Like that's a Christmas meal.
Yeah.
Like from scratch.
I remember one time when I was a kid, I like begged my mom in the store for hamburger helper and she did not want to buy it for me because she had already had it years ago and she hated it. But I had seen the commercials with like and I was like, we have to get it. It's going to be so good. And she's like, fine. And I remember taking a bite of it and just like looking up and being like, I've made a terrible mistake and now I have to eat this crap.
That's called natural consequences.
Yeah.
If you're anything like me, I would have sat and ate the whole thing too, just to prove a point.
Yeah. I think after dinner I admitted that. I don't think that we should get that again. Mom, I think I don't know.
Your mom had your ass up at like the sink though, wasn't she? Like,
oh yeah. I was peeling and doing all the stirring, deglazing. I was doing all the things.
Really little.
Really little. Like I remember when we still lived on Columbia Drive, so that was like pre-second grade. I remember standing up on a chair and like stirring things at that stove. So pretty young.
So
it's really funny if you meet Kate's parents, like you, I'm sure will eventually. I would see her mom a lot because she would come in, after work and like have a beer and just bullshit with me. And I was front of the house, so it was like different. And then I met Kate's dad, and I'm like, holy shit, like she's just such a mix of both. Because Debbie, her mom, is just such like a ball of energy and like, come on, and the times I've like popped over there, had to like go pick something up on the way back to Sac. Her dad's like, Stacy, come in, like have a glass of wine. And they're just,
my dad's like just even keeled, chill all the time. Then my mom's like the Energizer bunny that just doesn't stop. But I need that.
Yeah.
Luckily I'm a good mix.
Yeah, I think you're that mix at work. Like at work, you're more like, let's go.
Yeah. But then once I come home, no.
Yeah. Okay, so grew up in Lodi.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have siblings, do you? You're an only child?
I'm an only child.
Okay. I thought I remembered that.
Yeah.
She's everyone's mom.
Yeah.
She's everyone's mom.
Yeah.
Which funny enough, so you don't know this, but I actually Instagram direct messaged one of her line cooks yesterday. And I was like, hey, I want you to ask all the kitchen staff, basically all her staff, to give me like one word that describes, I don't want you guys to think about this. I just want you to ask. So he obviously had like a funny word, and I was like, bro, I'll pull up right now. Don't talk about my wife. Yeah. But then he was like, okay, everybody said the word is motherly. And like he said motherly in the best way possible.
Yeah, that is true.
And then if you guys, everybody listening, you need to follow Kate on Instagram. She's hilarious. But then she reposted this thing of like the nacho bar, and I'm like, it's so funny that they said motherly, and then it's like this beautiful nacho bar for family meal.
Yeah. I do make a big deal out of it. And then when everybody's eating my food, I like peek around the corner and I'll say like, do you guys like it?
That's so cute.
I thought I was gonna like surprise you with that because I thought that was really cute.
Motherly.
Yeah, motherly.
No, that's true.
Okay, so your earliest memory of helping in the kitchen, getting chairs pulled up.
Yeah, chairs pulled up. But I also have a different early memory that I was thinking about last night, and it was making pickles out at my parents' house now with my mom and her grandmother, who I think she was cool at some point. By the time I was born, she was pretty old and like not feeling good. So I just remember her being cranky, but my mom had a great relationship with her. But she was first generation from Germany. And so I'm in the patio and we're like layering all the pickles and stuff in the crock pot. And I touched the like hot chilies that go into it and then touched my eye because I was a child. Right. And, like looking back, kind of a traumatic memory, but it's funny now that I've dealt with it. But I immediately freak out because my eye is burning. And my great grandma, who was like 4'11", she was like super tiny. She grabbed me, which she had never really done before, and like picked me up and ran me into the house and slammed me down on this like 1970s pleather couch that she had in the family room. And she's screaming at me in German. That was the one and only time I ever heard her speak German. And she's trying to pour milk in my eye and like hold me down at the same time. But I'm panicking because I don't know this woman, you know?
Yeah.
I've never seen her like that. And turns out, that was a great trick because it did work.
Dude, all those old family tricks are the shit.
No, they do. And then I learned why that worked when I was in culinary school. And I was like, oh, no, that was like scientific what she did. Like, how did she know how to do that? That was crazy.
Okay, wait. And also expanding on that, I do want to chat about your like culinary school experience.
Oh.
That's one thing I feel like we didn't really like put on here to talk about. But every time you talk about it, it's always like, I never hear you say anything negative. It was like such fond memories being in San Francisco.
Yeah, it was cool. It was definitely the culture shock of like moving from Lodi to San Francisco, not only Lodi to San Francisco, but Lodi to the Tenderloin of San Francisco. That's very important. I was not in Nob Hill by any means.
Yeah.
And so going from like living on like a ranch to like immersed in this super urban area, that was like a super culture shock. But I was also craving that because we grew up in like a very small town where there's really only 2 ethnicities.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is there. So it was, I always knew though that there was like something else outside of Lodi. There was life outside of there. There was different things to learn. And so I wanted that I did pretty well with. But all in all, like living in San Francisco was pretty much a dream. That was great. I don't know if I would do it again, but at the time it was nice. Just being away from your parents and living in a different city, a big city, an international city where like you're walking around, and in a day of walking around, you've heard countless different languages come out of people's mouths, like languages you've never even heard before. And you have to try and like figure out like, what is that? Food obviously was amazing. We had pretty good instructors there too. I learned a lot there, you know.
Do you feel like you recently you've been an instructor yourself? She's like a professor now. She's Dr. Kate. So do you feel like the instructors you had there like influenced the way you were teaching your students?
Absolutely. One teacher in particular, and I keep meaning to like track her down and send her an email or something. That's probably going to be
her name. We'll find her.
Oh, her name is Amy Toder.
I love it.
She was one of my skills teachers in culinary school. So she taught you like the basic like skills of cooking, and then helped you to refine that. But she also worked for the Clinton administration for the entire time that he was in office. She had worked on cruise ships. She had like worked all over, and she just had a very good approach. But now that I'm thinking about it, she was also very motherly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
my God, it's
so maybe she was a mentor you didn't realize was an actual,
no, I loved her. She was great. And then she had like a great like network of friends too. So she always had side jobs for students to do as well, and like make some extra money, which was cool. Like I remember San Francisco had Gay Day. That was obviously a huge thing, the day of Pride. And those that didn't want to go to the actual parade or the festival, they would just do something like with their gay friends at their home. And so we did their Gay Day barbecue, her and her wife.
Oh, I love
and it was
that.
great.
That's
yeah.
cute.
That's what a culture shock, I'm sure too, because being like a student in college, going from a fucking 6-course meal every night, like you probably weren't eating on the level you were used to.
Well, that's kind of interesting, actually, because people talk about their like college dorm room meals. I did not have that experience. We were not eating top ramen. We were like making friends with the butcher at school to like get really nice cuts of meat.
Oh my God.
And we didn't have a kitchen in our dorm. It was like a hotel room, but we did have a makeshift kitchen, which was a George Foreman grill, a toaster oven, and a rice cooker. And you can do a lot with those 3 things. You can do a lot with it. You can make like a roasted rack of lamb in a toaster oven. And it was probably like the nicest lamb I've ever cooked ever.
These bitches out here can't even cook an egg, and she's making a fucking rack of lamb.
I seared it on a George Foreman and then popped it in the toaster oven and put potatoes underneath it, and it just like dripped the juices down. It was delicious.
So crazy. She's like, I still use that technique today.
I mean, all of our clothes smelled like lamb, but
it was probably worth it. It was
fine. Yeah, it was really delicious.
How long's the program, or the one that you went to?
It was a year of school and then 3 months of an externship. So you had to go out and find a restaurant to work at for free, which obviously they have done away with that, which I am in full support of, because you shouldn't be working for free. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because it was 3 months of like 12-hour days, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And like all you get is fed one meal.
Crazy. I actually went and ate at the restaurant that she did her externship at. Remember when I was in my second relationship, we were like big into spending a lot of money on food, and we went and ate there. That was our thing. Let's spend all the money on food, which I do not regret. And it was bomb.
Yeah, it was a very old school French restaurant. It happened to close like right before the pandemic, which was perfect because there's no way that they could have done takeout with their style of service. It was just impeccable timing. And that owner still owns like a dozen other restaurants though.
It's crazy to even think of like being former industry and even owning a restaurant. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been a chef basically straight out of school since you were 22, right? You're in your 30s now, if you don't mind me saying that. For everybody that doesn't know, she is that bitch now.
I am.
She's got the name on her.
I am that bitch.
Which doesn't feel real any of the days. It's still that I keep waiting for it to kick in and it just doesn't. It's like, oh, I didn't do that, but I did.
I think that's everybody's imposter syndrome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that way about so many things. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we both kind of got pushed into restaurant or into management, you know, by default from the restaurant we met at. We, you know, like I had to step up and become the GM. You had to step up and become the head chef. But to be honest, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like being in restaurant management and like back of the house, it's not always just about your art and how, like, I've worked with some chefs and I'm like, this person is so talented, but they can't fucking pick one foot in front of the other. So like, you're very much, she's that combo where it's like, you're creative, but you're also practical. And obviously, like, I know your staff, you know, on a personal level, most of them, like, they enjoy working for you. Like, do you feel like that's been the leadership style you've like kind of honed down after all this time being a sous chef and everything else?
Because what's cool about working, well, cool and not cool about working under a bunch of different people before you get to the top is you get to see how everybody else runs their show. And it's like I kind of always looked at it as like practice runs. And I feel like you could do this with whatever industry you're in. If you're climbing any kind of a ladder, whoever you're working under, take notes of like, I like what they do with this. This, on the other hand, is terrible and does not work at all. And so you can kind of like learn from all these other people's mistakes. And also like you'll have those moments where it's like, well, when I'm in charge, I'll never do that. I'll never make my staff feel this way, or I'll never put pressure like that on people, or I'll never, whatever the case may be, you know?
So you kind of just build your own, I mean, it should be your own style, but that's nice. I feel like I've done that too, just in my own career where you're just like, that is probably smart. I'll go that route. And then you're like,
because obviously you'll have your own style, but then you'll also you get to see things work or become disasters with someone else on the hook. And you remember that. And it's like, okay, take note. Like, I will never do that. That was terrible.
It's like growing up with siblings.
No, and I think the funny part with Kate, and I think in our relationship, we both, in the last 8 years, like we're in the most intimate setting, you know, like I see her more than I see my own family, more than I see you, more than I see my, you know, it's equally as much as I see my coworkers. So it's like both being in a leadership position, I feel like we've almost done like not a 360, but like she's found her voice. I've seen her. I remember you went through a period a couple of years ago where it was like, hey, Kate, you don't have to pick every battle. Like she found her,
that's true.
Her own healing journey. She's like speaking up now. Because you guys have a very similar demeanor. It's very like chill and just like, it's not that serious. Like, why are you getting worked up? And I'm fucking writing in the corner, you know? And so it's almost like we've seen each other grow as professionals, just like finding that balance of like, not everything needs to be mentioned on both of our ends, but also like she's influenced me to like chill out a little bit. Because it's that, like, I tell my staff that all the time. If you are like a paraeducator under me and you want to go on and be a teacher, take from me what you see that doesn't work for you and put that in your own classroom. And it's the same. You've worked under some shitty fucking people. I've witnessed it. You know, but you've also like the current situation you're in, you're working with like a Sacramento icon, in my opinion, you know, like he's an amazing man. So that's great. Okay. So give us your favorite happy memory. We're gonna start with the happy ones, then we'll get into the shit.
Okay. My favorite happy. Okay. So I have several happy ones that I had to kind of drum up out of
Say 'em all.
out of the archive.
Say them all.
One being I had worked at a hotel that will go unnamed. And we show up for brunch one Saturday, and I can't remember if it was Easter weekend or Mother's Day weekend. It was a holiday weekend, but it wasn't the Sunday of the holiday. It was the Saturday. And at this place, all of our walk-ins got locked at night with padlocks for security reasons, because anybody could access the kitchen at any time, and they could make off with thousands of dollars worth of whatever we had down there if they wanted. So we show up and all of the padlocks are still on and nobody can find the key to unlock them. Maintenance doesn't get there for another 2 hours. And at the time I had driven there with a still friend, but used to be a neighbor, Jenny. And Jenny and I had driven to work. We just discovered this blunder, and Jenny said, "Give me 10 minutes. I got something at home." And she races out the door. And I'm thinking, like, what does Jenny have at home that's going to fix this? Does she have the key? Like, why would she even have the key? Why would it be at her home? 10 minutes later, like on the dot, Jenny comes running through the kitchen door with this giant set of bolt cutters. And she's like clicking them through the kitchen. And I'm just like standing there in awe. And I said, "Where did you get that?" And she said, "Ask questions later." As she's just like
get those lambs
gnawing at this padlock. And she just like breaks it open like freaking Wonder Woman. Just like pop, pop, pop on all three of them. And it turns out her husband found them. He was an electrician. He found them at some job site and no one claimed them. And he was like, "Well, I guess I'll take them. They might come in handy someday." And that day they did come in handy. That was like the best girl power moment ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Her husband was probably like, "I told you."
Yeah.
Right?
He probably felt so vindicated. Like, I knew these would come in handy.
Because it was Jenny and I, and then like the sea of men, and Jenny was the one that knew what to do. Like she solved the problem.
How did they respond to her getting all the padlocks off? Were they fine with it?
They were just kind of like shocked that she did it, but they also were, I think, too in awe of her at the moment to like intervene. You know, because she just like she got muscles out of nowhere. She's a skinny little thing. And she just
tiny.
Pop, popped all three of them and like saved the day.
She's also your friend that gives you like the most funny, weird presents.
Yeah.
For like any little thing she wants to celebrate Kate with. It's just like, I love watching her open these presents for Jenny, because I'm like, where the fuck did she? This is like free strapping too. Like anybody can go to strapping now and get like a funny store. It's like it's a quirky little gift shop. This is like, she had to like search this out for Kate. It's
crazy. She seemed to always have them like at the ready too.
Yeah, like she just has a closet of weird shit.
Yeah, just
bolt cutters.
Yeah, like bolt cutters. Where'd she get those?
I like Jenny. We need to have a dinner with Jenny.
Yeah, she's great.
I don't get to see her often, but when I do, it's always like, she's that person too that gives you the hugs where like you have to pull away.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
You have to let go, because she's not letting go. You're gonna turn around, walk away, she'll like still be latched on,
grabbing onto you.
Okay, so, give us another funny or happy. Oh, go Melissa. Sorry.
No, that's what I was gonna ask. Is like, I want to hear more like that. That was kind of funny and happy.
I have a good like interesting one that I never thought would happen at the same place, same hotel. I was the only person that did a lot of the ordering of frozen things. And so I was kind of the keeper of the freezer, which nobody wanted to go in and spend a lot of time because it's like below zero in there. You get very cold and your patience gets real low. And we're all low key afraid to get stuck in there too, for sure. Because that could kill you for real. So I had been gone for a little while. I was on vacation or a longer weekend or something. And I came back and this freezer is just, it's a huge mess. And so I had like freezer gear in the office. I had a big old jacket, gloves, a scarf, and a beanie that I kept at work for this purpose. Mm-hmm. So I go in there and I'm just cursing everybody because they've left it just an absolute mess. And I look up on the top shelf and I see this box and it says frozen artisanal bread. And I had seen it in there for months. I had just like kind of ignored it, assuming that somebody was going to do something with it, but nobody ever did. And I'm looking at this box and I'm like, I didn't order that. And I don't even know where that came from. And so I go to take it down off the top shelf. And the first thing I realize is it's far heavier than a box of frozen bread should be. So now I'm just pissed. What the fuck is this thing? Like, what is it doing here taking up space?
Mom is mad.
So I lose my grip on it as I'm taking it down from this top shelf, and it falls on the ground, and the edge of the box splits open, but nothing falls out. So now I'm mad that I've dropped the box. Now I've ruined the box. And I go to like do like a sideways like soccer kick of it, so it slides out of the walk-in. And when it slides out of the ripped box, the hole, an iPad, brand new iPad in the box, just goes sailing out of the bigger box. And I'm like, the fuck? And so I get my chef, he comes over, he's really irritated that I've bothered him from a task, but I'm like, I need you right now. We open up this box and it's like 30 brand new iPads all in their boxes in a frozen bread box. We have no idea how it got down there. We have no idea when it got down there. I had seen it for months.
Yeah.
So we take one out, obviously, because we're already like, all right, I'll take 5. You take 5. You take 5.
That's the kitchen right there.
We're not telling anybody that we found these iPads, but we realized that they're all from, and I probably shouldn't say exactly which one. They were from a national corporate rental chain. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
For a training session that they had done. And at the time I was in charge of banquets. So any of these corporate sessions, I would have like had my hands on it somehow. So I look back through my emails, because now I'm like, how long has it been in there? I look back through all of my event orders and all my emails. That box had been sitting in there for 6 months in our freezer for 6 months. And I guess when they had it shipped to the hotel, the dumb bellboys saw like
The
must
bread?
keep frozen. And so they just brought it downstairs and put it in the freezer and assumed that it was bread. But my question is, that team had like a 5-day session at our hotel and
With
didn't
no iPad.
have their iPads. So why didn't anybody come looking for the iPads? That was like thousands of dollars worth of like corporate owned iPads sitting in our freezer, and nobody ever asked anything about it.
Do they work?
I know. I was like, did they get ruined after being in the freezer?
No, they did work. They just needed a charge and a little defrost. It worked. But I think they were made for this corporate chain, and so there was no way to like wipe the iPad. Like it would only do certain things. That
I
was
love
like
how this is
for
leading
the
up to them
training
taking them all.
sessions. We tried everything. We literally tried everything. We were like making calls to like techie friends, like, hey,
How do you clean this?
let's say we came across 30 iPads that
In a
weren't
freezer.
ours. How would we make them ours? But yeah, nobody could really figure out. And I don't know what happened to those. I was thinking about that too. I don't know. I know they got taken up to the corporate level.
Lost and found?
Basically. And it's like, well, because then it was like, well, somebody might get in big trouble for losing these iPads.
Dude, somebody lost their job?
Yeah, like
literally.
Seriously, like that's a lot of 30 iPads. Like that is
Yeah, what
so
is that,
much
like-
money.
that's a lot of money.
So
And they were
what,
like,
$500 each? I was trying to figure out the math. in my
Stacey was
head.
like, hold on.
they were like brand new too. They were like brand new in the box. Like they hadn't even been touched. There were like no fingerprints on these things. Like they were like clean.
It's like $15,000.
Yeah, because like in that moment, I'm thinking like, okay, Stacey's getting an iPad.
Everyone's getting a great Christmas gift. This
Yeah,
year.
like you get an iPad. You get an
when you guys move out, there's gonna be this box somewhere in your house that says frozen artisanal bread.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking Kate's iPads and the papers to her car that she lost, so we cannot find
Oh
anywhere.
my god. Yeah, there's a hole in this apartment.
There's a fucking
somewhere.
Twilight Zone somewhere where all our
Yeah.
shit's at. We don't
There's
know
like
where.
the sock in the dryer.
Little portal where our important documents are.
Remember when I couldn't find my
You thought your
my
passport
passport?
was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She told before I went to Mexico last year, and she tells me later, like, I was just kind of lying to you and Googling like, no, you could get one really fast. Because I was
Just so you wouldn't panic.
Yeah.
I was in full freak out mode.
She was ripping her room apart before she went to Mexico. She couldn't find it. And I was like, well, let me Google like just in case. And everything I was bringing up was like 6 weeks, 10 weeks.
And that's like if you're lucky.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you could tell. Yeah. I mean, in some instances, you can go and get another.
I was like, okay, let me calm down. And then I found it.
Yeah. I just didn't want her to panic.
I like hide shit from myself. I don't understand. And then I don't know where the hiding spot is.
When you're hiding it though, you're like, fuck yeah, this is so
Yeah.
good. I will
I don't know why you
always
hide your
remember this.
passport, though, because you go overseas. Like that's a regular thing that you would use.
Why would I hide a ring that I wear on my finger every day when I was engaged? And then I
You were
found it.
drunk.
Yeah, that's true. I was drunk that
were
time.
drunk.
I found it in a tiny little candle holder. I left work
Like a
early.
tea light.
A
like a tea
literal
light?
tea light. I didn't. I
Yeah.
could not on a bookshelf that was in my living room. And I was like, "Fuck it." My apartment was a mess. Him and I were freaking out, and he's like, "It's not a big deal. We'll figure it out." I'm like, "No!" Like, put my hand on the bookshelf. Like, "No, it's not." Oh shit! It's in this tea light. And he's like, "Why the fuck would you put it in a random tea light?" I'm like, "I don't know. I wasn't sober, so."
She showed up to work really, really, really upset that
Crying,
day.
yeah.
Oh my
and I was
goodness.
like, what's going on? And she was like, my ring, I lost it. He's gonna fucking kill me. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I couldn't even imagine you crying about something like that now.
dude.
She's a different person then.
Like
I know.
4 people since then.
I feel like we've lived a ton of different lives, right? Casey and I were just talking about this recently, where it's like it's wild. Just like every couple of years, if you feel like you're just butterfly that has rebirthed. It's
Yeah.
like,
Look at me. I'm all into Harry Potter now. Who would ever thought that would happen?
I never did.
Yeah,
I'll get there.
Kate has to hear it every day.
It's okay. We're both Hufflepuffs. So.
Yeah, we're Hufflepuffs. Melissa doesn't know because she was refusing to watch it.
Well,
I'm not refusing. I need to find the time. It sounds like quite the commitment.
No, I
It
promise
is.
you it's not. Just get it.
Yeah, you can get a passport really quick. That's what it felt like right now.
She's like, okay, so let's get into the impact of being a woman in the kitchen.
Mm.
We
That's
want
a good
all
one.
the tea.
I'll start by saying that I find it really funny that a common misogynistic comment is that like women belong in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yet if it is a professional kitchen, all of a sudden we are not cut out for that level of kitchen work. Now all of a sudden it's a boys club.
Yeah.
And they're the only ones that can do it.
Yeah.
To which I say, no, because we just like generationally, I mean, gender roles are a real bitch sometimes, but they are what they are,
History.
you know?
History.
Yeah. Like, well, I didn't learn how to cook from my dad or my grandpa or my great grandpa. I learned everything that I know from the women in my family.
Same. Yeah.
They were outside smoking cigarettes or doing whatever, drinking whiskey, out hunting. I don't know what they're doing.
Who knows?
Not
I mean,
cooking.
I know what my dad was doing.
Playing slap and tickle. I don't know what they're doing. While the ladies are cooking. But I think that it is important in any kitchen to have at least like a balance of men and women in there. Men have their strengths and women have their strengths. They're not the same. Women, I feel like they are cleaner. That's just a fact. More attention to detail. They tend to women, I think, are just like natural managers just in general. Like the women are the ones that are looking out for everybody when they don't have to. They just do.
Motherly.
Yeah.
I mean, as 3 women sitting here that don't want to have kids, we all are pretty fucking nurturing and motherly.
Yeah.
But that's just natural, I think.
Like one of my cooks, Alice, she's a great example. She doesn't have any management title, but she naturally manages anyways. Like she'll go back behind the boys and pull stuff out of the walk-in that's like the use first stuff that they didn't see, but somehow she knows that it's in there and she knows exactly where it's at. And she knows that they need to use it first. And she'll come back and like check them repeatedly. And you can kind of see them like roll their eyes at her, but she's never wrong.
Yeah.
You know, roll your eyes all you want. You didn't see that. And she knew it was in there. So
and that's like a famous meme, I feel like, with men. Like, use your fucking eyes. I actually had a chef at the first like kind of fine dining restaurant I worked at. His name was Blake, and he's hilarious. I mean, this guy like set the bar for chefs because he was amazing and funny as shit. And I'll never forget this time when his line. I mean, Mallard's was a huge restaurant. There was like 3 people in the pantry and then like 7 line cooks on the line just for dinner. Like it was a well-oiled machine. And I remember they were fucking up one night, and he was like, get off the line." And he ran that motherfucker by himself for like 10 minutes, every station. I mean, he was the shit. He wasn't so much of like the hands-on role anymore. I mean, he was the head chef. So it was like he did the menus and oversaw stuff, you know? But he was such a good like epitome of like a positive male influence, because in my experience, I haven't worked with a lot of male chefs that have been positive. It's been a lot of misogyny, a lot of bullshit. And to be honest, I haven't really worked with a lot of like, next question, kind of like, since you started, have you witnessed like that increase of female chefs? Because in my experience, you're one of the only ones I've worked with.
There are more in Sacramento.
Okay.
Like that was when I noticed that there were more of us. Because obviously like Lodi and Stockton, that's a pretty small pool. But when I got the job at the hotel, that was the first time that I had walked into a kitchen. It was almost 50-50 of men and women. And I was like, okay, like this is nice, because it was like you had somebody that you could talk to on like a woman level, I guess. You're not like surrounded by the boys, because being surrounded by the boys it can be fun, but it can be really isolating and exhausting as well. It's good to have like somebody in your corner. So there's definitely a lot more here.
I feel like even when it's not intentional, because it's about to shift where I work. It's been like primarily in my role and a role that's lateral to mine, mostly men, and it feels like a boys' club. So even when you have these like gentle men and like compassionate men, they don't understand what a boys' club looks like, and that they're like doing bro-y stuff all the time and excluding women and making it very, very much male driven. And so it's about to take a shift, and there's about to be one male and then our boss. So it's going to be all female here in January. So it'll be a nice shift. Again, these are great guys, but it turns into this boys club, and it feels very isolating for sure.
Yeah. And I don't think that they realize it because they don't realize that they are centered in everything that they do.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything that they do, they've never had to decenter themselves for anything, for any reason. Never. Because the world is built for them.
For their advantage. And
then we are like hacking it out to just be like seen or heard.
It's crazy. That whole thing always trips me out, because I feel like I have the opposite experience in education. It's primarily women running it, you know? So it's like, I always say we have 2 male, like all the time male, like a teacher and a speech therapist, Mickey and Ranielle, who I feel like I talk about a lot, because I fucking adore them. Like they are very like child-centered, collaborative. There's no like male privilege is what it is. They don't express that male privilege at all. They're just such amazing men and examples. So when we have men who come on like student teachers or, you know, part-time service providers that come in and they kind of fuck up the vibe, I'm just like, let me just intimidate them. They'll probably never come back.
Yeah.
And I do. Like, get off this fucking. We treat our campus like it's heaven. I swear. People like step on holy ground, and we'll all have a group text like, oh, I don't like that fucker's vibe. Like, I don't like his vibe. It's kind of like a kitchen. Like he ain't gonna work.
Well, know, pretty much like, within a couple hours if somebody's gonna fit in or not, and then.
Once, and in saying that too, don't you? I feel like with Kate, you get every job you interview for. Every time you've staged, you've been offered the job.
Yeah.
What is like your do you know what staging is, Melissa?
Isn't it like where it's like a working interview almost? Is that pretty accurate? Okay.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite like place? No, you don't have to necessarily, if you want to name the place, but favorite staging experience, even if you didn't take the job.
Probably When I staged at the Waterboy.
Yeah.
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 The
That was
place
kind of
that
cute.
I work at now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was staging like right alongside the owner. Like it was he and I working together for like 6 hours straight. Which I liked because ultimately I'm working for him. So I want to see how he treats people and how the staff reacts to him. But I also really loved just how hard he works for both of his businesses. Like he's not a hands-off guy at all. You can really tell that his 2 restaurants that he owns are like labors of love, and like those are his other children, and he cares a great deal about it. But I was also really paying attention to my gut as I was like sitting with this person and being like, how am I feeling next to the energy of this person?
That's so important.
Yeah.
And it felt good, but also like if I could describe Rick in one word, it would be fatherly. Like we don't call him dad to his face because that would be weird, but
Daddy.
we call him dad behind his back. Like when he's not in the, like, we don't ever use the word Rick. We don't ever call him by his name. We just call him dad. Dad doesn't like that. Like, I don't know. That's a question for dad. I'm not at liberty to answer that. That's a dad question for sure.
I love that. I wonder if like your coworkers call you mom, like behind your back. They probably they do it to your face.
They do.
I mean, sometimes they call me that to my face. Yeah. And I'm always like, don't call me that. Stop it.
You're going to get a timeout, buddy.
I tell my staff that I'll leave and I'll be like, mother's always watching. Like,
and
they're always like, shut up. Bye. We'll see you later.
When I walk out of the kitchen, I'm always like, I'll peek back through and I'll be like, remember guys, mom's got eyes in the back of their head.
You know what's really cool about Rick? One of my, like, I don't even really know him directly. I literally just like fangirled over him one day at One Speed when I like knew it was him. It was like Rick, I'm Kate's roommate, blah blah blah. I had heard about him so much before because my uncle Jim was like a wine sales rep for him forever. So like when I moved here, he's like, you have to eat at the Waterboy, go to One Speed. Like I had already heard about him. But the time you told me, like, he basically got you a bike.
Oh yeah.
And then like there was a flat or something, and then didn't you like go out to the shed and it was like fixed?
Yeah.
Aww.
I asked him for like a lightweight bike. He's a bike guy. He owns like he won't tell me how many bikes he owns. I've tried to get him out of him. He's like,
it's an embarrassing amount.
He's like, it's not important. I'm like, it is though. I want to know. I asked him to find me like a good like lightweight road bike just to drive, like go from like here to work because we live like 6 blocks from the Waterboy. And he sent me a Craigslist ad and said that it was like a really good bike for a really good price. And I was like, okay, cool. I trust him. So I hit the guy up. The guy's like, well, there's one offer in front of you. So if they fall through, you're the next in line. I said, cool. I go to work 2 hours later. Here comes Rick driving up in his van, unloading the bike. That was, like he was the first person in line.
That's so cute.
And then he wouldn't let me pay him for it. It was like $100. He wouldn't let me pay him. And then, the flat tire, I just like magically go out to the back room where we store our bikes and my tire is fixed. He's like a little dad angel.
Yeah.
Like, did you fix my tire? He's like, oh yeah. And I saw that you're blah, blah, blah. I was wrenching on, because he likes to work on them too. So he like totally tuned my whole bike while I was like butchering chicken in the kitchen. I was even out there.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. I've never had a boss like him.
Which is just sets the vibe for the whole,
that's
like,
for sure.
Everybody seems happy there. You know, I got to eat there before Kate was the chef and I had a great time. And then I got to go after, and obviously I had some advantages and some perks because of her, but like just the energy in there is so good. I actually feel like that about that block, like that and Alaro both. Like, I like that brewery, like the whole, if you haven't got a chance to go, I enjoy being former industry, going and having coursed out meals or pre-fee meals and like doing wine pairings. Like I don't get to do that as much with my like pay that I make now. But when I do, I'm like, I love that you guys have the experience there. Yeah. There's some places I'll go and the front of the house, the service is decent, but the food is great. Waterboy in general was just, it was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I actually sent some friends there recently and they said the same thing. They were like, we've gone before and it was like not that memorable. And then this time we went, it was like the whole from the door opening to leaving, it was a memorable experience.
Yeah.
Makes a
So-
difference too when it's like the love of the food. So there's like passion, compassion, empathy, like the people leading it are then hiring on people that also have those traits. And
Yeah.
it is like you can feel it in everything, in the food and the environment. It completely changes, I think,
Yeah.
an environment when you have people there for the right reasons and not just to like make money, which the money will come.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think the restaurant
Yeah.
we even met at, like initially, even before her and I stepped into like a management position, it was fun. The vibe was good.
Yeah.
It was a honeymoon period, which
Yeah.
is, you know, for every honeymoon period restaurants, when you make the most money, it's the
Mhm.
busiest, you know, and the challenge is maintaining that.
Mm-hmm.
And then unfortunately, the owner is the person who made it very dark. And it's like he had this amazing staff of people
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, he kind of just one by one, everybody left because, you know,
They couldn't deal with him.
they couldn't deal with
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
I think like kind of sliding into that, do you feel comfortable talking about that experience?
Sure.
All right,
Yeah.
give us the tea.
I always say
Mhm.
with that restaurant, it was like the abusive relationship where like you say like when it was good, it was really good.
Oh yeah.
But when it was bad, it was like
Really
real
bad.
bad.
Well, we can say it. I'm comfortable
Yeah.
saying it. So it doesn't exist. It's Crush Kitchen in Lodi.
Yeah.
Well, I can say I'll say Michael. I'm not going to say his last name, but everybody will know who we're talking about.
Yeah. He was a memorable person.
He was fucking horrible. He would have been canceled in today's day and age.
Absolutely.
And I'll speak from a member, you know, as a queer woman. It was sad because he had an opportunity, and him and his husband had an opportunity in Lodi. You know, Lodi is a very judgmental place, and I experienced homophobia. I experienced racism, as like a lot of my family did growing up as well. And even I will never live there again. There's high hopes, right, for change for any place.
Yeah.
And I feel like they had the opportunity to really like come in as a successful Mike. His partner was successful. Michael was just a fucking peon, but like he had the chance to come in and give a different perspective of a successful gay male couple that just truly wanted to contribute to the community. And he took that and flushed down the toilet and gave everybody what they wanted, which was to stay in a place of safety and judgment. You know, so yeah.
I still have never heard a member, because I didn't really hear Mike say much, but Michael, I had never heard a member of the community speak so negatively about the community.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was also immersed in that small town. So it's like, why are you speaking so like negatively but stereotypically about your own community?
Yeah.
Like, why are you being such a bitch?
Yeah.
Just a bitch about everybody.
Yep.
Judging
he got in with that crowd,
finger pointing, and it's like, these are members of your own we have that existing here as it is. We don't need you helping.
We didn't need somebody come in and fuel the fire. I do think he was an elitist in a sense of he didn't come from money, and he got with a longtime partner that was very well off.
Yeah.
And so he came in and kind of found the middle class people who worked for the elitists and thought that they were somebody. They weren't shit. They were fucking piece of shit drug addicts secretly too. And I think that they thought they were important because of where they worked, and he kind of found them and you know, made sure he got in close to them, made sure when those people came in, I fucking, you know, was like, yes, ma'am, whatever you need. Like, you know, he made sure there was this image of success and money and blah, blah, blah. And ultimately, I think he found out that those people weren't shit either. You know, but yeah, like traumatic memory in the kitchen. I think this is a good story.
So Michael was a very toxic person in general. He was a liar.
Oh my God.
He was a rumor spreader. He was an embellisher. He had a super hot temper, and he would regularly talk about how abusive his home was growing up, about how his parents would physically fight, argue. There's a lot of alcohol, drug fueled, you know, the whole cycle of abuse, and he liked to tout himself as getting out and not perpetuating that further.
Mhm.
And that was a lie.
Such a lie.
The night that I knew that I had to leave, and he and I had arguments in the past, but I was still a very like passive person at that time. Obviously I was only like 22, 23. There's a lot I didn't know. And so I would kind of let him, you know, throw his fit and then just not argue with him, and it would be done and eventually. And on this night, he kind of like physically went after me. We had gotten into an argument about something so stupid, and it just escalated from 0 to 100 in the blink of an eye. And this is at the end of service, and it was a super busy night. So I'm like, you're really tired at the end of service. Like if you're a line cook, you're tired. Like that is a very tiring job. It's loud, it's hot, super chaotic. And so when you're
for a short amount of time.
yeah, so it's just like an adrenaline rush, and then you feel that like depletion of, you know, that kind of like adrenaline hangover, I call it, of like afterwards when you just don't feel very good. And so I'm trying to clean up my station, and he approaches me in a way where I'm cornered, and he's yelling at me, and he's like just saying such like mean, out of line, unprofessional things to me for no reason. He was accusing me of pretty outlandish things. He was accusing me of specifically, and this is his words, not mine, trying to poison my staff so that I can't go on my European vacation.
What the?
That was exactly what he said. You're trying to poison my staff. And it was over something that was like, I wasn't trying to poison. No one was being poisoned. That was just like a really wild, outlandish accusation.
Like physically poison or like emotionally poison? What is he thought you were like?
Oh, like he
emotionally?
thought that I was serving people. He thought that I was serving his staff raw chicken that was going to get them sick, and that they were going to be poisoned. And then the worst of it all, he wouldn't be able to go on his vacation because everybody's poisoned. Like that's
on vacation
crazy.
all the time.
And that is a crazy thing to say to somebody. And then he throws out a really crazy number. He says, you spent $150,000 on culinary school, and this is all you can do is try and poison my staff. First of all, I didn't spend $150,000 on culinary school. Where did you even come up with that number?
No, he's not a fucking chef.
I spent less than a third of that. Like, that's fucking nuts. Why would you ever say that? And I remember thinking, she and I were talking about this a while ago. I remember thinking we had this old cast iron pan, huge cast iron pan underneath the sink, which was right next to where I was standing, that we never used. And the split second I thought I could grab that pan, whack him over the head, leave his lifeless body right there, and run out that back door, because he's like blocking my exit as he's screaming at me. And I eventually am able to fight back with him a little bit, because I'm thinking, well, now I'm cornered. I don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
So I'm arguing back and forth with him. He eventually just leaves out the back door. I think he like ran out to smoke a cigarette as he's still yelling at me through the back door. And the way that the restaurant was shaped, we had a whole patio that was right outside the back door. And there were several people still on the patio that heard that entire interaction. That was embarrassing.
Customers,
for sure. I went into the bathroom, which for some reason the bathroom for the guests locked on the inside. Do you remember that door locked on the inside? Like it was a private bathroom. I locked myself in there. That was the first time in my life I have ever had a full-blown panic attack.
Yeah.
I was like so hot underneath my clothes that I like ripped my shirt off, and I was just covered in like hives and blotches, just like all down my chest, all down my back. I couldn't catch my breath. And it was all because like this man who was like way bigger than me literally had me just cornered, screaming at me for something that like I didn't do. It just came out of nowhere.
Which was his style.
MO though. That was how he did
that to us. The funny thing,
Yeah.
when she called and told me the story, I was like, he's a pussy because me and him, we used to fucking go at it.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to fight like
because she doesn't back down.
No.
If somebody starts shit with her, she's just gonna start shit back. And those were my actually like least favorite memories of working there. It's like, Steve, just stop. God damn it. This is so awkward for me.
Don't poke the bear.
Well, it was dark. It was dark working there because like I was in a bad place and I was like, this.
Yeah.
Also, I felt like I'm giving my entire life to this. Like I was very in that toxic cycle we talk about where you're working, 10, 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes. And like, I had so many customers. I'd be like, you run this restaurant like it's your own. I could have been literally robbing those motherfuckers blind if I was a shitty person. Like that's how much responsibility they just gave me while they were out fucking in Portugal. Which I'm like, live your life. But like as a new restaurant, most people don't even make money for 5 years.
Yep.
And so like he would come at me about wanting to take a day off and we would just be in the office like screaming at each other. And I was saying I wouldn't back down. And poor Kate had to witness like so much of it. I mean, how many times did fucking Jason get fired? Like he would fire the head chef and then he would hire him. They'd have a fucking heart tar and get hammered together. And then he'd hire him. It was just this guy was
it was unprofessional. Unprofessional.
Well, he sounds like a little bitch.
Yeah, and then physically attacking her like that.
Yeah.
And it's like he did that because he felt like he could. That was the Kate that you were at that time.
Yeah.
Where he felt like he could do that.
Yeah.
But like what is he trying to accomplish with that? You know what I mean? Like
I think that it was just like intimidation and he needed to be like in control and in power. And when he felt like that was threatened, then he would have one of his outbursts where he would let everybody know, hey, I'm still a fucking grenade that could go off at any second. Just let you guys know,
This is my restaurant.
Sounds like he dug the hole for his restaurant to crumble.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I actually saw him chase out probably like at least an 85-year-old woman once because she didn't understand why we had popcorn instead of bread.
Oh, yeah.
And he literally in front of a full restaurant on a Friday night, she made a comment. He screamed at her. She didn't even go out the front door. She went out those two double doors were kind of in the middle of the two dining rooms.
Yeah.
Like they're like emergency exits. She escaped out of those because he was like full on going after her. And I remember so when I say I think he would be canceled, like he would have been on the fucking internet 60 times by now. He would if anybody had anything to say to him, he wasn't holding back. He had no self-control in any way. On top of it was taking pills. On top of it was drinking. Like, so a lot of that kind of ties into our next question with like, if you've ever experienced any other male chefs as you've kind of moved up the ladder, show resentment. I think that ties into that. I think he saw her blossoming and like knew she was going to do great things and knew he'd never amount to that.
Yeah.
He's not a chef now.
No, God knows where. Hopefully he's living under a bridge.
Most likely. It sounds like he might be.
Yeah. To be honest, he's not that dumb. He got with his husband for a reason. He has money and now he left him and they have a kid. So he's probably sitting pretty collecting child support and alimony. I guarantee it.
For sure.
Guaranteed.
Absolutely.
But yeah, do you feel like you've had in other positions, like any male line cooks, like become resentful towards you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that people are resentful towards whoever is excelling the fastest. Like if you're the best at your job, you're usually demonized in some way, villainized in some way, like people are not gonna, there's a lot of haters. Like people are just gonna hate on you because you can do shit that they can't.
Yep.
But my argument when this would happen, because it's happened several times, is like usually the people that are forming these negative opinions of you are people who use substances, who choose to stay in really shitty home life situations, people that are setting themselves up to have a really crappy time, where I'm not that way. Like we have like a safe home space here so that we can both grow and blossom, like we are resting while we are here.
Yep.
We're not snorting a bunch of blow all week. We're not
I'm glad that stopped.
Thank God.
Not anymore. Just kidding. We never did. We never did. We never fucking did. Because that is gross. But ew.
Yeah.
But being around that a lot, you kind of see the difference. And it's like, well, they're gonna hate on you and tell you that you're like a suck up and that it's like, well, I also like care about my job and like I work at my job and I read books to get better at the material at my job and like I research things to know things and like you don't do any of that. You go out after work and you blow all your tips on beer and cocaine. And that's where we are. I'm going here and you're staying here.
People that continue to self-sabotage and set themselves up to do that, and not want to work hard or put the work into it. They think it's just, they think that like you've just lucked out and they're not seeing all the things that you're sacrificing and that all the work that you are putting in. And that goes across any industry too. It's just wild. There's just people out there that have little to no emotional intelligence and don't want to work very hard and want to just throw judgment and hate on other people, which is really unfortunate. And then you have there's another side to that too. There's the positive mentors. There's the people that help, put a hand out and help lift others up. And those are the ones that like keep all of us going probably, it's just, it's wild. The amount of people that will self-sabotage and then be mad at somebody else for it.
Always pass
I think
the
that's
blame.
just that's the self-sabotage like MO right there.
Yeah.
Like, destroy it for myself and then just be real pissed when everybody else has it.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that from any other like female chefs that you've worked with, like resentment, or has it always been like more just like, hey, we're fucking in the trenches together?
I can really only think of one. And she just like looking back and like talking to other women, because we worked with a lot of women at the time, she's just not a girl's girl at all. She has very much pick me tendencies. And she had great relationships with all of the men that she worked with and shitty relationships with all of the women that she worked with. So it's like, well, it's
crazy the growth you have even just in personal relationships with realizing women like that. It makes me sad for them. Because I'm such a mix of like a guy's girl and a girl's girl, like I have a mix of both close relationships. But I remember a girl I was friends with at my first job at Cottage Bakery, and somebody I ended up moving to Santa Barbara with, that's how she was. Everybody at Cottage Bakery hated this bitch's guts. And she was like a very attractive, she was like right under the valedictorian, like successful, charming enough, but only charming with men. And everybody used to ask me when I was moving, especially like, how could you be friends with this person? She sucks. She's kind of mean to you. And I'm like, no, like I'm not one that just lets people be mean to me. So that's not true. And we had a falling out like a year after moving there. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking everything everybody said you were. And I like, I think the version of you that I was experiencing was the version of you I made up in my head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
How often do we do that though?
I mean, I think I am the queen of doing that.
Yeah.
I think I am the queen of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think even in work, I've had somebody I've dealt with at work who was like some microaggression stuff that I'm just like, as I, kind of met them and then surpassed them, because of kind of more ecological factors. They weren't in a position to move up as quick as me. I have an advantage. I don't, have kids, a family. I felt that competition, and it's like, yo, I'm not competing with you. I'm on the platform with you, trying to push us both to the top. But they didn't view it that way, and it took me a couple years to realize this is your shit. This has nothing to do with me. So the pick me girl, that shit is fucking rough to deal with.
And all of that that this woman had, like that was all her stuff.
I mean, it normally is.
I encouraged her to go to therapy numerous times. I don't know if I hope she did.
Yeah.
I mean,
hope she heals.
Yeah.
Hope she heals.
I don't talk to her anymore. We went different directions, but like she had a lot of stuff in her past. Like I understood why she was the way that she was, but not at her age.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to be like that in your early 20s when you don't know anything, but now you're an adult. So you need to get your affairs in order. Like,
I mean, I feel like we could say that about people we even are in intimate relationships with. Like in my own experience, I'm very empathetic to what people go through. I always feel behind. I've said that a lot, but I'm never going to allow my shit that I am not dealing with and should be to impact the people in my life. It has, and I'm aware of that, and I don't want to be that person.
But you at least try really hard not to. Sometimes it does creep in, obviously, because we're all going through our own things, but just being aware that like, that is what people are unaware of, the challenge they present to others.
For real. The self-awareness is a thing.
Yeah.
Do you feel like these, I mean, I know that's not the only traumatic experience, and we can talk about the others if you want, but do you feel like those experiences in the industry push you into your own like healing journey?
Absolutely. So when I started going to therapy January of 2020, like right before the shutdown, but then I'm thinking the pandemic brought around like a bunch of its own things to the surface for sure, but luckily I was already like on the path to it. But I had worked at three very abusive restaurants before going to therapy. And what therapy has done for me is, we were talking about this earlier, like realizing, having someone point out to you what anxiety feels like, because you could feel it for a really long time and not know that that's what it is until somebody's like, well, this is what it feels like, and this is how you feel when you're feeling it. Like, do you ever experience that? And then you're like, oh my God, like the day I had to explain to my dad that he was having an anxiety attack. Because he had no idea. He was just very flustered and like couldn't listen to me while he was paying this bill. And it's like, Dad, I think that are you feeling anxious right now because of what's going on?
Yeah.
And I had to like walk him through that. And it made me sad that he's as old as he is. And like nobody had told him that. He had no idea. So working on anxiety, and then having my therapist pose a question to me of like, can you remember the first time that you felt anxious in the kitchen? And I could remember around the first time that I felt anxious in the kitchen, but also knowing what anxiety feels like and thinking about through my whole life. Like, whoa, I don't only feel it here. I have felt it in my home since I was like a child. I just didn't know that that was what it was, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
That was a tough pill to swallow. And it was an even tougher pill to swallow to think that I chose an industry that kind of mirrors the home life that I had as a kid, with people at odds and fighting and drinking and having to take the temperature of the room all the time to figure out what kind of night I was going to have, and evaluating the level of intoxication of everyone around me to figure out what kind of night I was going to have.
And all doing that while you're a kid, like just trying to allow your brain to develop and process.
Yeah.
She like dropped this on me like right before we were talking, and I'm like, holy shit. Like the part where you said, you know, I picked an industry that was like similar to my home or mirrored my home life. And I'm like, dude, that part.
Yeah. That's weird. That was a lot to like swallow when I put those together. Like,
But you know what's crazy? And I'll say this just as somebody who has like had the privilege of watching you grow. It's like, fuck. I've told her even just the stuff you've gone through recently where I'm like, there's people you've outgrown and you're not ready to let go of, or you may not let go of, and maybe it's just not the time for you. It's a couple people, not just one specific, but like, it's crazy how you have kind of turned your survival of your childhood into thriving in your life, not even just your career, in your life.
I mean, you have to.
Like, you are full on thriving. I could say that.
You have to figure out a way to fucking do it, because you can't go back and redo your childhood.
But you've done
yeah.
You've done the hard work.
Because I was tired of like sitting with those uncomfortable feelings all the time, and like unsure about my own future and unsure about how I wanted to live my life and build my home and, you know, launch off into my own life. But it's worth examining all of those things. It's not fun, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I have my days where I'm like, I'm tired of feeling my feelings and working.
God damn it, Sharon.
I'm going back. Going back under the rock.
It's so life-changing though once you connect that, right? Like there's certain things that will like trigger me or surface for me, and I can like, now I've learned to kind of like take it back to, again, like experiences as a kid. It's like, oh, that's probably why this is how I'm reacting, or this is why this triggers me. Like, even, you know, in different relationships that I've had, it's like I can self-reflect now and be like, oh, that's not this person being a certain way. This is me being triggered by something that they're just being their human self. But I have a different experience because I was raised to experience it in a certain way. And now it's super triggering to me. And so it's life-changing once you can connect those, because then you can sit with it and you can unpack it a little bit. And you feel like you have a little, at least for me, I feel like I have a little bit more control of than those triggers, and can figure out how to, work through those. And not to say that it's gonna end, like I still get triggered, but it's
and realize
easier
that it's a trigger for you. It's not what that person did.
Yeah.
Because if you're not healed, you lash out at the person for you feeling some type of way about whatever they're doing. When 9 times out of 10, it's not that person's fault at all. They have no idea what's going on up here for you.
I tried to explain this the other day and got met with some harsh judgment. And I was like, dude, this is like therapy 101. Like I can't be the only one that and I was like, I'm getting triggered by having to explain this. So I'm gonna just choose to end this conversation.
So I have a question though, just because as you've like gone to therapy, you're doing all this, obviously work on your own mental health, being in an industry that is like so fast paced and you're like, go, 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 go. Do you find yourself, and I'm asking this selfishly because I'm like, go, 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 go all day long. There's like calls and people coming at me with things. And so it's hard for me to like then calm down at the end of the day. Like, have you found ways to like go from 100 billion like miles per hour to just like a steady calmness?
So I feel like that depends on where you work, or it did for me. When I worked for the hotel, it was the 7 days a week, like nonstop machine, like it never let up. And so it didn't matter what days you had off, you still had to check your emails and like keep up with, because the machine wasn't stopping. Just because you weren't at your station for 2 days doesn't mean that we're not still rolling.
No distance.
So that was like you like wake up in the morning and the first thing that you do is like anxiously check your email, check in with everything, all the different apps that you use for manager communication. And then you're thinking like, did I order everything I needed for the next 2 days? And it feels like you lose your weekend because you're looking forward. And I felt like that at the place that I worked during the pandemic too, because they were the same way. Like any kind of corporate, they have no respect for your time off. They have no respect for your home life. Because they don't have to.
Your work-life balance. There's no work-life balance.
There's no work-life balance.
It's like the fucking Matrix all the time.
No, they'll hit you up any time of day. So going from a corporate environment to back to a small business where we're closed on Sunday and Monday, I'm off today and nobody's going to call me because nothing can go wrong because the lights aren't even on.
Nobody is like there.
The greatest joy ever. I guess some people, maybe they thrive in that environment where it's 24/7. I didn't. That's when I felt the height of my anxiety. And the height of that was when I started to really experience my burnout.
I think that is a part of the toxic culture, though, the back of the house, or in the restaurant industry in general. And I see them getting away from it, which is nice. More places are closed at least 1 day, 2 days, the minimum between, lunch and dinner service to give people that break. Because it really is like, I think in my job, it's so similar to being in the restaurant industry because it's so much multitasking, same as you, like just constantly calls and emails and people like needing me to direct them, that it's like it helped me in my field, but at the end of the day I get to come home and turn off. I had to shape like parents and have boundaries, and it's nice that you get that too, and that comes from working for a man that like understands, right? Like you said, his restaurants are clearly a labor of love. You get treated as you should.
He doesn't hit me up on my weekends unless it was, I remember like a few weeks ago, I got an email from him on a Sunday at like 7 a.m., which was odd. He never does that. And it was an article from the New York Times about what the proper garnishes are for a hot dog, because he and I have a long-standing argument. He thinks that ketchup does not belong on a hot dog.
I agree with him.
Is he from the Midwest?
I agree.
What?
Yeah.
I don't, but that's because I don't like ketchup.
Okay, that's different.
He told me that it was because I'm over the age of 10. That's a direct quote. I shouldn't be putting ketchup on my hot dog. So he sends me this New York Times article where they're saying that ketchup is not an item that should go on a hot dog. And
That's
I'm like
funny.
laying in bed, like laughing and just like having this moment of reflection of like, oh, on a Sunday 5 years ago, I would have had like a pit in my stomach receiving an email from my boss on a Sunday, because that could only be bad things.
Yeah. Is he from the Midwest?
No, I think he's from here.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Where the hell did that come from? That must be a generational thing.
I don't know. He's just very picky about his mustards.
I mean, he knows his food.
He's a funny little man.
He's a funny old man.
But if that's my biggest problem.
Yeah, I'll take that all day long.
Seriously. Yeah, hot dogs are like a big thing for them.
Yeah, we do.
We
do love a good glizzy. The water boy. Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite like Sacramento spots to eat?
Well, it used to be Yang's Noodle. I was talking about Yang's Noodle last night and I almost got emotional again.
I know.
They had to close or what?
They didn't make it through the panorama.
And I don't know how. Like,
I don't know how either. I was so upset. They had the best like Szechuan food. It was so good.
Melissa, I don't know if you'd be able to actually hang eating with us. Melissa's not like a big food person, but like Casey is. When we go to eat, we're like, oh, should we you get these 3 things. I'm going to get these 3. Should we also, can you add this?
We fill the
3 drinks. Like the table's full.
I love watching that.
At 2 top. We can't sit at a 2 top.
That's not enough
beverages
space.
alone will take up the entire.
Like, I need a 4 top table, not even a booth. I need like room to move.
Yeah, and it's like, don't worry, we'll make it worth your while that you're not seating 4 people here, because we will order enough food for 4 people.
For 6 at least.
Yeah,
I love it. I love doing. Joey's the same way too. So I love witnessing.
Tell your story.
Let
her tell her story.
I love Joey so much. The first time I ever met Joey, we were all ordering Indian food at someone's house. I was very concerned that there would not be enough naan to go around. Very concerned. But obviously I'm keeping it up here because I don't want to, this is crazy, but like, I'm going to let myself have it. And Joey takes all the orders for everybody. He writes them down. He makes the phone call, but he's not saying naan. He's reading off all the entrees that everybody's ordering, but he's not saying naan. And I'm just like, oh my God, he's not even going to order it. We're not going to have enough naan.
0 naan.
The night's going to be ruined. And then at the end of the call, he says, and can I add 7 orders of assorted naan? Not even the sides of naan, the assorted naan. And I was like if he wasn't married,
I feel like he also too was like, is 7 enough? And then was like, let me get 9, wasn't he?
I think
he like upped his own order. He answered his own question. He asked us, and then and I just saw Kate over there like,
I was just swooning.
Like little hearts above.
And that was the day that I knew, like, oh God, Joey is a real one. There was so much naan to go around. I was so happy.
We had excess.
You cannot have enough naan. There's never too much naan.
No, especially the assorted with like the onion naan and the garlic naan and the cilantro naan for different dipping purposes.
Dude, the best.
Shortly after one of Stacy's birthdays, one of her friends got her a vape pen. Can I tell this story? Yeah. Okay, the vape pen. So this is when the weed vape pens were like relatively new, and we had never experienced these before. We didn't know these robot joints. And so she and I walked to a sushi place that's probably like 6 blocks ish from here. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I'll bring my new vape pen." I said, "Great." And so the whole way there, we're ripping this vape pen like it's a joint, which was a very not smart choice, but we didn't know. We're knowledgeable now after what happened. And we sit down at our table and we grab the menus and we're looking at them. And I just look up at Stacy. She looks up at me. We're both so just violently high. And probably like $150 later, we had ordered like 4 beverages a piece, filled our entire table with various dumplings, sushi, salads, whatever, just had a feast, and then just like laughed all the way home of like how shitty high we got.
I remember we just looked at each other like, are you alive?
The waiter was probably like, those girls are high as fuck.
I was on the moon. Yeah. I was not in that restaurant.
I think we floated home, literally. We like walked out of the restaurant with our to-go bags.
Was that the tastiest dumplings you've ever had?
Dude.
I mean, it was a great meal.
It's
And
never been recreated.
it's one of my best memories. I tell that story a lot. Like I tell it to people.
People are like, damn, they have a problem. What is something that happens in the kitchen? I didn't think about this. That's like, or you see people like cooking or whatever that's so cringy to you.
Like us
when
normal
people
folk?
Cook
No,
at home
just
or
like-
in the restaurant.
Well, either. Like under seasoning, like what's like something people do, you're like, oh, it's so cringe.
A lot of under seasoning, a lot of like leaving things on a really high burner and just turning your back to it. I'm like,
Oh, like eggs? I know you hate that.
yeah, eggs.
She's like, people cook eggs all the time.
All the time. This is why I hate working brunch or any kind of breakfast service.
I mean, just no, everybody hates working brunch. I don't know anybody that fucking likes it. I hated it. I was like, why do I have to be here so early?
because we always say people don't order eggs like as they want them cooked. They order eggs as their mother cooked them.
Mm-hmm.
So if your mom gave you an over easy egg with a hard yolk, you're going to think that that's an over easy egg. And then you order an over easy egg in a restaurant, it comes with a runny yolk, and then you send it back and you make a big deal about it. Like, no, the customer is not always right.
I mean, yeah, that's the fucking culture we live in now. Thank God it's gotten better.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yang's, obviously, I know you love Indian food.
Yeah, Indian food. I really like Hawks in Granite Bay.
Yeah,
It's
that's
delicious.
fair.
Or the
Stuff
public
like-
house here is
Yeah.
great too. When we went to restaurant Josephine,
Mhm.
that
Oh,
was
in Auburn,
wonderful.
in Auburn, that was
Yeah,
amazing.
I give that restaurant recommendation a ton. Other than that, like Vito's for pizza or Pizzasaurus Rex. I
Yeah.
like Pizzasaurus Rex quite a bit. Thai Canteen.
Has there been any female
Pretty
chefs in SAC that you like look up to? Or is it just like working alongside you?
It's more just like working alongside them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't because I always love the opportunity to work with women in kitchens, you know, because a lot of the time it's like we said the boys club. And what comes with the boys club is just like misogyny, racism, homophobia.
Yep.
The things that I've heard come out of people's mouths in kitchens, like there's shit that I'll never repeat.
Yeah.
Never repeat. Like the foul. This is what I got into an argument with my dad a few months ago. My dad is not a supporter of the community at all. I can't change his mind on that. That's just something that he has to live with. But I straight up told him if homosexuality was a choice, I would have chosen to be a lesbian a long fucking time ago, because I have worked side by side with men, and the pure disgustingness that I have seen and heard and witnessed and felt is like, this cannot be a choice. Like, how am I still attracted to this after all these years?
Not to mention balls stink.
And boys are just kind of gross.
They're sick. Like,
yeah.
Trevor's awesome. Her boyfriend is amazing, and he's very like on the good side of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think we just said that.
But he's not a goblin. He's not a kitchen goblin.
No, that's true. That's true. He's not. He's an educated, fucking funny ass dude. But we were saying that today. We were talking about birth control. Like, just become a lesbian. That's a lot of time. I never had to worry about birth control. She's like, if I could, I would.
Okay, Stacey.
About it.
I was like, good.
I never thought of that.
Yeah,
of course, I
doesn't work that way.
Exactly. Yeah, all people I should know, I guess.
Like, there's one conversation that I was just a fly on the wall for at a place I worked, where like all the dudes were talking about the hottest chick they've ever banged, and they were all just like,
you're like, she probably didn't feel the same way.
Yeah, I'm like, they were embellishing that shit for
real graphic. We got graphic, we got nitty gritty. We said they said some things that should have been left in the bedroom for sure. Obviously, I don't know who any of these women are, but still, just the thought that like people would ever like speak about me that way, or speak about like my loved ones that way, was just really gross. And I loved that at the end of every single one of these stories, it ended with her ruining his life in some way.
Yes, bitch.
One was like, yeah, I fucked this smoking hot Colombian chick. She's shit. And he's like just being real graphic with like the way that she looked and the shit that she did with him and like all this. And then it ended like, but then, she almost got me fucking killed in a bar fight. And then another one was like, yeah, but then she like set all my shit on fire in the fucking driveway. And I was like,
Well,
might be. Did you talk to her this way at all? There might be something that triggered that.
Interesting. She's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's always the she's crazy. It's always the she's crazy.
You're the type of guy that like speaks about her in this way in a public fucking setting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was no fault of your own.
Having a dick measuring contest with your coworkers, you fucking weirdo.
And I'm just giggling in the corner, and then they'd notice that I'm giggling, and I'm just like, y'all are paying the price.
Yeah, exactly.
Paying the price.
Yeah.
Jeez.
My cooks are fucking a whole different breed of dude anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we could wrap it up.
I have one more question.
Oh,
sorry.
go.
I just thought of it. Do you have any stories like either funny or horrific pertaining to like interactions with customers?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely during the pandemic, things got really weird. I worked at more of a fast casual place during the pandemic, that has like a very solid reputation in town. So they have a very solid customer base in town, and people were very not okay with how weird we were acting by protecting ourselves.
Yeah.
Then there were the people that would like refuse to put on a mask until they were like asked by an actual manager to put on the mask, and then they would take a mask out of their bag, so they had it the whole time, and it was a Trump 2020 mask.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The whole rant we can go on.
Can you imagine just needing that much attention?
No.
Like the amount of attention you need for that. That just goes to show you've never had to fight for anything in your life that's like relevant to your survival.
Exactly.
It's fucking weird to me. Just weirdos.
There are the occasional like people that come in with their dogs and like order food for their dogs. That is always very odd to me. But honestly, I don't mind it because I love animals so much.
You're like, hell yeah, I'll chop up that chicken.
I'll make your dog a fucking burger patty. That's fine. Only if I can watch him eat it. Here behind the corner, do you like it? Is it good?
Good boy.
Yeah.
We do have the occasional customer that like really thinks that they like wrote the book on things. It's pretty easy to shut them down because they only think they wrote the book on things.
Yeah.
They're not knowledgeable about anything. I feel like mostly the wine people are the worst ones.
Yes.
It's usually regarding the wine.
Like,
Yeah, I
I'm
can't
a
really think of,
sommelier.
like,
Like, yeah, anybody could be. You just have to pass the fucking test. Not that serious.
Yeah. We did have a weird customer at Crush. I can't remember if you worked there. The lady that pooped on the couch.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. This woman was we had like a lounge in the front that just had like couches with a coffee table. So you could just like get a quick app and a drink with like your friends or whatever. And this woman was wearing a skirt and she got kind of shitty drunk.
Wasted.
Yeah.
Sounds shitty.
And then when she left, there was a turd lit on the couch. A turd lit.
Yeah.
And then
That's
yeah.
And
then there was the woman that peed through the restaurant too.
Yeah.
She was also really drunk. She got up from her table to go to the bathroom and peed.
She had already got it started.
Yeah, all the way to the bathroom, and then the bathroom had a bunch of pee in it. I couldn't believe she had that much. I was like, "How big is her bladder? This is a lot of pee."
She just fucking had a catheter. She was
this is like a lot. Wow.
We had people do some weird. Out of all the restaurants I worked at, there was a lot of weird shit that happened there. But it was also downtown, so it's like, who knows how much people are getting fucked up.
Yeah.
We had like people come in that knew like coworkers who would act like entitled, and I'd be like, I don't fucking care whose parents you are, just. It's closing time. You gotta go.
Yeah.
Get out. Like we want to leave, Or people come in super late, try and order. I had to bless Kate with the task of making my food all the time.
That was fun though.
She was making really good like skillets.
I have like a couple good memories of working with Stacy. One being, I was thinking about this last night. One being at the end of the night, she had to like count like all the money because she was like the manager of everything. So she would be in the office, and this is just to paint you a picture. This is like mid 2000s. So the chunky jewelry is in the statement necklaces and like earrings with like feathers and like clunkies on them. So she would have her hair up and then have these big old earrings, big old necklace. And she's sitting in the office with this huge fan like directed right on her. So her hair is blowing and her earrings are blowing. And she's sitting there listening to just like the raunchiest rap you've ever fucking heard in your life. And she's like counting all these bills like she's a fucking mob boss or something while she's having an entire conversation with somebody. And I would always think like, how does she keep track of like what she's counting as she's actively talking to somebody? But I guess you were just so good at it. It would just, or maybe you were wrong the whole time.
Yeah. You never caught it. Who knows? Be one of those.
Stacy made off with $100 grand.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Remember fucking there was one story too. Again, rock bottom, where I woke up on the couch at Crush and I woke up to Jason saying, Stacy, and I was like, where the fuck am I at? Because I would literally get off work. I would ride my bike to work because I lived close to downtown. I would lock it inside, go out, come back, turn the alarm off, make myself a plate of whatever. That's not
all you would do.
Yeah.
Is this where you snag cheese?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we didn't realize until years later when we lived together, we were having a conversation about Crush, and she let me in on a secret that she was like sneaking back into the kitchen after hours and stealing a bunch of food out of the kitchen. A memory that had like haunted me for years because I was in charge of the ordering, and like giant chunks of Humboldt Fog cheese would just go missing. And I would be like, okay, but where did it go? Like I would be like counting the cheese plates that we sold the night before. Like, no, that doesn't make, like, where did it go? Or like quarts of fucking edamame hummus would go missing. Bags of pita would go missing. And it was her. Yeah. She was riding her bike back after going out, and
I would literally wake my legs up in the middle of the night. It'd be like 3 a.m. I'd be like, get up, I made a plate tea. After a while he was like, I don't care.
She would make herself a little fucking girl dinner and then lock up, set the alarm, ride about her merry way home.
But at this time I actually fell asleep. I probably made myself a plate and had a little beer and fell asleep on the couch.
Probably. But you're not the only one that did that. Jason did that too. Jason scared the shit out of me one morning. Our other chef that was there, who also happens to be my cousin.
Yeah.
He passed out on those couches and locked the door, set the alarm so that everything was secure. I come in the morning, undo the alarm, and he decides to wake up right around the time the bacon's coming out of the oven. And he just appears in the window in front of me, takes 5 years off my fucking life. But he has like the pillow fabric mark on his face.
He probably had a little dookie, nugget that was left.
And for those of you that don't work in the industry, that's actually a common thing.
Yeah. Passing out.
If you have keys in the alarm code.
Oh, some of my favorite memories are being in the industry. I mean, obviously, Kate, like people that are not necessarily part of my life now, but were one of my exes, like I met them all in the industry. So many good memories. But I think the moral of all this is like Kate is an outcome of somebody who like recognized the patterns and got it together. You were never really a shit show though. You're not a big drinker, you're not a big partier, but still like, you know, you definitely like it took you down a dark place that I got to witness, and she got herself out of it, which is a really good positive, you know, and did the fucking work. We say that all the time. Did the work.
Yeah, I couldn't do it unless I was like, I'm about to start my 4th year in therapy, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, you always feel like that.
You know,
like, what do you think you would tell your fresh out of culinary school self?
Oh my God.
And even, you know, women that want to get in the field.
Buckle your seatbelt. I wouldn't say to change anything, because I wouldn't change anything. Even the bad things that happened, I still wouldn't change them because they got me. Everything fell into place the way that it was supposed to get to where I am now, and will continue falling into place the way that it's supposed to. I think I would tell myself to like just stand up for myself more to get to that point faster.
Yeah.
Just like just take no shit. Like do not take shit from anybody, because the minute that you do, you become a little stepping stone for
Yeah.
other people.
Mhm.
And I think that's the same in like all the industries though.
Yeah,
That's,
it's true.
you know,
It's true.
don't let people try and fucking punk you, because
No,
they'll do that
period.
shit. Like the
Yep.
pecking order is real, even in humans. Like people do that. People try and flex on you. They try and make you feel stupid. People try and like kind of trap you and set little traps for you to fall into, and you just have to be paranoid of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Life is a
Well,
beautiful
thank you
mess.
so much.
Yeah,
Thanks for
you.
having
Beautiful mess.
me.
Yes, life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess.